Alright guys, so I'm working today, so forgive any of the background noise, but I'm going to take a minute to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. This is a different type of video. It will get political, probably in the middle. These are all based on my experiences. I have respect for everybody's opinion, so if it doesn't align with what you believe or your ideals, I understand. But this is based on my experience, and we're going to talk about Afghanistan. First off, if you are a service member, I know right now that the veteran crisis lines and some of the suicide prevention lines are being overwhelmed. 22 a day is way too many already. Please reach out for help. If you have nobody else to talk to, you message me, email me, call me, text me. I don't care what time of day or night it is, I will talk to you. Do not make a decision that you cannot reverse. I promise you. There is light at the end of the rainbow. It may be hard to see when you're standing in the darkness, but it's nothing we cannot overcome together. Please, if you're having those types of thoughts, get help. And if that means you calling me just so I can sit and listen to you, I'm here. No questions asked, no judgment. I promise you. So, before we get into this, for anybody that doesn't know, I served 4 deployments. I spent 3 years of my life in third world countries. I've served with a Navy SEAL team I had the privilege of spending some time with, getting to know. I'm not a SEAL. I'm not Special Forces. Let's just get that out of the way. I was a paratrooper. I've worked with the Naval Special Warfare Command. As I said, I worked with the SEAL team. I've also worked with Ranger groups. I've worked with ANA in Afghanistan. I've worked with IP and IA in Iraq. The list goes on, and I could rant on. But I've had a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of different people from different nations, including Iraq, Afghanistan, Haiti, British troops, Polish troops, Canadian, so on and so forth. And because of that, I have seen a lot of different cultures and had a lot of opportunities to learn a lot of things from many different nations. And I'm very blessed to have had those opportunities. So, over the past few weeks, I've tried to distance myself and not spend a lot of time on social media or watching the news. Of course, Monday, the bottom fell out, and you can't get away from it. You can't go in a gas station that doesn't have a TV on or a newspaper, radio broadcast, and not hear about the most recent events in Afghanistan. It's terrifying. It's a horrible situation. The humanitarian toll is going to be massive. There's no doubt about that. We're going to talk a little bit about who is really at fault for this, and we'll get into that later in the video. And if you're politically sensitive, probably a good time to turn off the video or skip ahead. And I'll try to include links and times in the bottom here for everybody's comfort. So, for me personally, it's had a pretty negative toll on my family, especially Monday, when I just couldn't escape it anymore. We have some friends and other service members that reached out. They were struggling with it. And for me personally, it's affected my cognitive ability, my ability to really think and focus. I have trouble sleeping already, and of course when emotions are high, it makes it harder, and then you start having nightmares on top of it. I get it, guys. It's hard for a lot of us. A lot of the battle buddies I spoke to were having similar issues, and that's okay. The emotions, the feelings, they're real. Okay? What I didn't like is how I project myself on others. We always hurt the ones closest to us. And while I may not be physically or verbally abusive, I become very shut off, very cold. We talked about my cognitive ability. It becomes very hard to think, even forming full sentences. My ability to project affection or be more patient with my kids. It can be all very overwhelming. So that's some of the negative impacts it's had on me. I wish I could work past that. It's something I am working on, but that's how it affects others. So just be aware of that. If you are one of those guys, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very passionate. I have a very soft spot for children and also women and those that are taken advantage of, even males that are abused. I've always been a protector, and that's just who I am by nature. And to isolate myself, and even though I'm not being physically, mentally, or emotionally abusive directly, I am still hurting them because I'm not present, if that makes any sense. I think some of you guys will understand that. Fortunately, I have a wife that has stood by me through a lot. We've spoken a lot with my older children, so they kind of understand. And for us as parents, it's always that if they're old enough to ask a question, they deserve an honest answer. And because of that, my oldest daughter is a lot more in tune than probably most children her age. But that's beside the point. So getting into the really heavy topic of Afghanistan and what I believe is going to happen now. The Taliban probably sent their most disciplined and loyal fighters into Kabul because they knew that the international stage was going to be watching them. I mean, they are in the focus of everything right now. So they want to present a good projection of themselves to the international community. Taliban has never really been validated as a government organization, and now they have validation. They're in a position of pure power. They have more military equipment than they've ever had. They've got up-armored and more sophisticated equipment, stuff they've never had access to, including aircraft. And because of that, they've become kind of a key player in the Middle East overnight. I mean, there's a lot of other strong militaries in the Middle East, obviously, but they become a very strong player very quickly, and they are going to use that and manipulate that to the best of their abilities. And one way they can do that is not coming in initially and acting like a brutal terrorist organization, but more as a legitimate government. And I think that's why we see a lot of more reports out of like places like Jalalabad and some of the other provinces that fell sooner about the public beatings, going house to house, women being forced to marry, Taliban fighters against their will, more of the stricter laws that they want the population to follow being put into effect. We haven't really seen that in the capital where a lot of the media presence is currently. And I think that's for that exact reason. Do I think it's coming? Absolutely. The deterioration of women's rights is going to be very quick. I think we're already starting to see it. I don't have anything against Islam, but I have something against extreme Islam, as I do extreme Christianity or any faith that is extreme. And I think what we're going to see is a very quick erosion gradually of women's rights. And I really hope that the women in Afghanistan do continue to try to be strong-willed and fight for their rights. I don't know how effective they will be, but I hope the whole population remains strong-willed and says we're not going back to what it was 20 years ago. That being said, the Taliban are terrifying. These are not generally nice people. The inflation rate is going to go crazy, especially as we continue to shut off aid. Obviously, we're not providing aid to the Afghan government anymore. A lot of other countries will probably pull aid. That's going to cause the Afghan currency to basically depreciate. It's going to cause inflation to go through the roof. And as poverty takes over, I think we're going to see a lot more crackdowns on the population as desperation sets in. As far as the Taliban's projection, they want to project themselves as an international player. And I think we're going to see countries like China very quickly come in, and probably Russia and other, because Afghanistan is very rich in copper and lithium. China had surveying crews there in 2013-14 when I was there last, and they were surveying the mountain stuff for lithium. China will probably very quickly come in and legitimize the government because they want access to that lithium. Obviously, China is a very big producer of technology, both for distribution and wealth, but also for military applications. So what I think we're going to see from China is them coming in, trying to play really nice with the Taliban. This could be really bad for the country because the reason Afghanistan has not harvested a lot of this is because they lack the capacity to mine, refine, and produce, because they don't have the infrastructure or the stability. Copper and lithium require a lot more process to take versus something like steel. So everybody knows the lithium mines are not a very nice place. They are devastating to the environment, and what we're probably looking at is when China comes in, they care about only one thing, and that is number one, they do not care about the Afghan people. And because of that, they will exploit the local population as much as possible, and Taliban probably will too. I don't think they're going to be advocates for the people when they're making money. And the economic and environmental disaster of that will be huge. So that's kind of what I see for the future of Afghanistan, and it's not very bright at this point. Now, for the fall of the capital and everything involving that, who do we blame? Well, first off, the President of the United States obviously did not start this war. However, he was involved in it as the vice president for 2 terms, 8 years. I can tell you during the Obama administration, things in Iraq and Afghanistan were not good. Not only did we get pay, I got pay frozen in Iraq once and Afghanistan once, even though Congress and the president and the vice president were still getting paid because they couldn't get a budget passed. Remember that very extensively because I had soldiers that had not maybe financed so well or had other outstanding situations where they were taking care of an elderly family member and were strapped for cash, and all of a sudden they're not getting paid even though they were in country. I'm still kind of bitter about that because we had to work individually with each soldier, and that was ridiculous. I remember the policies under the administration and how limited we were. We couldn't carry certain weapons. We couldn't go into certain towns because it could be bad publicity. When politicians get involved in wars, I'm not saying soldiers should go out and commit genocide or violate anything in the Geneva Convention, but when they are sitting at an air-conditioned desk on the other side of the world, they should not be making decisions to military commanders. This is why the Second Battle of Fallujah happened. I personally know guys that were in that battle. They were never the same. I know guys that lost friends, had injuries. That battle should never have happened because it was too much bad press for us to continue to go in that city. So we made it a safe haven for terrorist operations. They launched attacks throughout the rest of the country. And then we said, okay, well, this can't happen. We got to retake it. It cost a lot of American lives. That's one example. And I could give you dozens, even some based on my personal experience. Everything from don't go across this river, don't go in this town. Okay, well, they're planning an IED, but you don't see the charge. So even though they're obviously planning it, don't engage them, don't wrap them up. I'm not saying shoot them dead. I'm talking about, hey, let's go over and talk to these guys. Nope, let's drive on. Let's not fly Apaches. Even though we know we're going to get mortared this afternoon, we have to wait until they mortar us, then we respond. Those things freaking happen in country. Not even joking. Hands tied. That's what gets soldiers killed. I have lost friends because of that crap. Don't think it doesn't happen. It does. That happened under 2 terms of an Obama administration. Now, do I agree with the withdrawal? When I was in Iraq in 2011, on my second tour in Iraq, and when I was in Afghanistan in 2013, I had correspondence with close family members regarding the outcome of the wars. And what I said was, unless we're willing to put 40 or 50,000 service members in country for a long period of time, a sustained period of time, and really commit to going after these organizations, to really hunting them down and being unbound, once again, not committing war crimes, not violating the Geneva Convention, but pursuing them and taking the fight to them, that we need to withdraw. In my opinion, we should have withdrawn probably much sooner than what we did. With that being said, I understand that President Biden was not handed a good card. I understand he was handed a dirty or bad plate. It was still his responsibility as President of the United States to make sure that got put in the dishwasher and washed. He did not do that. He has had a year in that he knew he would be commanding the United States. 1 year. Weeks ago, he was told that that Afghanistan could fall faster. Nothing was done. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, he should have been putting plans in place, contingencies, communicating with our allies, working to evacuate not only Americans, but interpreters, informants, even Afghan commandos, those that are going to be targeted the most by the Taliban, that have helped the United States immensely and probably saved a lot of American lives, that we have now abandoned. We have abandoned them in country. He did almost nothing to safeguard those personnel or the Americans. As of today, Wednesday, there are Americans trapped in Afghanistan, with the White House putting out that we have no plan to rescue them outside of the capital, outside of Kabul. That is asinine. That is a complete failure by this administration. Where's the president been? Where was he Friday, Saturday, Sunday? He didn't get back to the White House and make a press conference until Monday at almost 4 freaking o'clock. When the situation was getting dire 2 weeks ago, he should have had his entire cabinet, all of his advisors, and himself at the White House, conducting emergency sessions, communicating with the American public, and this disaster would not have been as bad as it has been. I'm telling you right now, the impacts are going to be seen for generations. This is not something that is going away. We have projected a complete failure to our allies. Our adversaries are going to exploit this for everything it's worth, and it could have been a lot less. The Iraq pullout was not great. Was it hurtful? Yes. Was it our negative media? Yes. Was it this? When 1 month ago he told us this wouldn't happen? That we wouldn't see Americans being evacuated from embassies on helicopters? Yes, that happened. That we have people clinging onto aircraft and falling off? Absolutely unacceptable. What has happened in the last 72 hours is a failure on this administration. And if he was in fact informed by military advisors several weeks ago that this was the potential, that Afghanistan was going to fall faster than his projections, which even 1 month ago he said the Afghan army was going to be able to stand on their own and it wouldn't be a problem, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that was BS. He should step down and step down immediately if that is the case, because he has failed and damaged the United States more than anybody has in probably 40, 50 years. This is devastating. And mark my words, all of our opponents, North Korea, China, Russia, they are going to exploit this. They will exploit this. There's absolutely no reason for it. And Mr. President, I know you will not watch this, but you owe every amputee and every Gold Star family an apology for your department's failure. Your administration has failed the American people. It has failed all the service members involved in these wars. It has failed the world. And you could not take responsibility for it. You want to pass the blame on everybody else. I've heard you complain and complain and complain and try to say, oh, it's this person's fault, it's this person's fault. You were in the White House. You ran for office knowing this war was ending. Your administration has done nothing to safeguard the Americans or anybody else that has worked with us that will now probably die. The image you have projected is of weakness and vulnerability. And our adversaries know it. You have failed. Your administration has failed. And you owe everybody an apology and probably a resignation. Will that happen? No, because you don't care. You'll sit there and continue to blame everybody else, even though you are the one that is in charge. If you were a military commander and this happened, you would probably be in jail. You would probably be sitting in Leavenworth. But you're president of the United States and you can get away with pretty much anything you want to. True story. Do I think that if the sole blame falls on him for everything in Afghanistan? No. But I do think the events over the last week and several weeks and months could have been prevented, and he should have had more insight. And his advisors, his cabinet, his administration should have been way more involved. And because of that, people are going to die. People that have helped us, saved American lives, are going to die. No doubt about it. They're going to suffer. They're going to be tortured. And that is not on my conscience. That should be on the president's right now. That's all I can say about that. My heart is with the women and children of Afghanistan, with the people of Afghanistan. I have no hatred in my heart for you. I really hope that the Taliban are telling the truth and they're not going to go back to their own ways. I'm very skeptical of that. I don't believe it's true at all. I believe we've already seen it. We're not seeing them distance themselves from Al-Qaeda. They're already telling us they're going to, it's okay for women to do whatever they want to as long as it's within their interpretation of Islam, which is a very extreme version of Islam. I think most people agree on that. My heart's with you guys. I really wish that the Afghan people would have stood up and fought. I really wish that you would have been able to defend your country. But I wish nothing but the best moving forward. My heart, my soul is with you, as with the people of Iraq. For all you service members out there, if you're American, if you're Australian, British, guys, hold your heads up high. I know most of you are like me, and that you truly believed in what we were doing, that you tried to make the world a better place. And a lot of your battle buddies that aren't with us believe that as well. If you're an Afghani soldier that stood up and fought or resisted, my heart is with you. It truly is. I'm sorry for what has taken place. If you are a French citizen and you want to criticize America, I remember when you, the French, asked America to drop 2 atomic bombs so you could retake a country that wasn't yours after World War II. I know your limited operations in Afghanistan. If you're in Europe and you're criticizing the United States, I was there when many European nations were pulling out in 13-14. We stayed another 6 years, 7 years. We were committed to the Afghan people. Political side, you want to criticize them, do whatever you want. But the American people as a whole, the United States soldier, we've been very committed to making Afghanistan and Iraq better places. I truly believe that in my heart. Do I hate what has happened? Yes, absolutely. My only prayer is that things will be better, and that now that you've been given kind of a taste of the other side of the pie, maybe it will sink in and you will not want to go back to what it was. I believe the international situation in Afghanistan is going to be terrible over the next couple of years. I really don't see a lot of positives coming from this, but I hope there's that glimmer of hope in my heart that it does. But I do not believe any more American lives should be spent over there. I'm sorry. At some point in time, you have to stand up and walk on your own. And unfortunately, weak leadership in Afghanistan failed to do that. That's the reality of it. A lot of Afghan leaders failed. Some did not. Some stayed. And my hat's off to you. I know a lot of Afghan leaders stayed and are still there. That takes a lot of courage and bravery. And I wish that more had stood by you in your time of need. So this video has gone long. I want to rehash and say that if you are struggling right now, please reach out to somebody. I'm going to repeat what I said beginning. Call me anytime, day or night. I will talk to you. It's not worth it, guys. Keep your heads up high. You did what you need to do. If you're having a behavioral health crisis, seek help. Afghanistan, I might not be there. My brothers and sisters might not be there in full force. But believe us that our hearts are still very much on your side. And whatever comes in the future, we only wish, or I'm not going to speak for we, but I only wish you the best. As always, guys, thank you for watching all the way.